share with you a couple of insights that I had on what I wish I would have known shortly after I was diagnosed with MS, which wasn't too long ago. There was a man named Lee Brower that had an excerpt that he was writing in a book, and he was going through a really tough time with his family and just having a terrible time. So he decided, after looking at, it's kind of funny how he came up with this, but he found a rock on the ground. And he picked up the rock and he held it. He just held it in his hand and he looked at it. And he realized to himself, I'm going to make a commitment to myself right now because I'm feeling sorry for myself. I'm really down in the dumps. So now every single time I look at this rock or touch this rock, I'm going to say what I'm grateful for in my life. And so he can, start having an attitude of gratitude is what he called it. Well, he had a business partner come in from South Africa, and he was taking his keys out of his pocket one day, and the rock fell on the ground. And the guy from South Africa looked at that and he said, why do you carry a rock around? And he said, well, it's my gratitude rock. Whenever I touch it, in the morning when I get my keys and my rock, I put it in my pocket, I start going through the things that I'm grateful for. And then at night, he takes the keys and the rock out of his pocket, and he starts thinking what he's grateful for. And he starts coming up with this attitude of gratitude all the time. And he realizes how important this is, and he's had some really cool experiences with this rock. And this guy from South Africa goes back home to South Africa, maybe 5 days later, and he emails him and he says, hey, I want to thank you for showing me the gratitude rock. It's really meant a lot to me. And I feel like I can practice that in my everyday life. So I'm wondering if you can send me 3 gratitude rocks, because my son has a rare disease, and he's really suffering right now. He's probably going to die from this disease. So we need to start having an attitude of gratitude. And so Lee Brower thought to himself, hey, it's just a rock, but I'll send them to you anyway. So he goes out to a pond, and he finds these 3 beautiful rocks. And he packs them up and he sends them to South Africa. 5 or 6 months later, this guy from South Africa emails him again. And he says, thank you so much for sending me these rocks. It's been a wonderful experience. My son is completely healed. And I feel like it's because we have an attitude of gratitude. And but you have to know something else as well. I have got together with my family and friends, and we've sold thousands of these rocks at $10 a piece. and we've been able to raise all this money for this disease, and we're going to cure it. I'm really excited about this, so thank you. And so Lee Brower thought, oh my gosh, this attitude of gratitude, it must really work. And so I wanted to take this a step further. I got it in my mind that I was going to meet Lee Brower. I didn't care where he lived. I didn't care what he did for a living. I was going to meet this guy. Well, I was working with my dad in the life insurance business, and he said, come on, we're going to Bountiful to meet a guy, a client of mine. And I walk into this huge building, and my dad gives this guy a hug, and the guy comes up to me and he goes, hi, Lee Brower. And I shake his hand, and I just thought that was amazing. And I said, wow, that's great. Gratitude rock guy, right? And he said, yes, that's me. And I said, I just have a question for you. How could I find a gratitude rock? And he's like, well, go outside and find a rock. And I said, I really want a gratitude rock, like one that's significant. And so he said, hey, tell you what, I'll give you mine. And he hands me this rock. And it's in my hand, and I did the same thing that Lee Brower did originally. I just stared at it. And I was so grateful for the opportunity to meet this guy and to now have this gratitude rock so that I can have an attitude of gratitude. Now, this whole experience happened to me before I had MS. But now we're going to go with the example of not an attitude of gratitude and see what I was like. The day was now December the 31st of 2008, and I just got done with the MRI. I couldn't see. I just got done with the CAT scan. I could barely walk, and I just got done with the spinal tap. So I was getting wheeled back to my room in a wheelchair, and I heard this crowd of people, these nurses and doctors saying the countdown. It was 3, 2, 1, Happy New Year, yeah! And everyone was having a great time. This was not a Happy New Year for me, obviously. I was just in the hospital for about 14 hours, and I was very discouraged because I didn't know what was wrong with me. I didn't know I couldn't see, I couldn't speak, and I wanted to be cordial, I wanted to be nice, and so I looked up at the nurse and I said, "Oh, no." And she pets my head and she says, "Thank you for trying to wish me a Happy New Year," which was kind of strange, but whatever. So what I could see, I knew this actually did not happen, but my perception was way off because I was a pessimist, and I just saw all the nurses and the doctors laughing at me while they were cheering and talking about Happy New Year. It was like, "Ha ha! Look at that guy! He just had a needle in his back, and he's got an MRI for 3 hours. Ha!" And this is a side note. I was 320 pounds, so it was like I was in this MRI machine. It was really tough. So I get back to my room. I stare at the ceiling like a deer in the headlights. I can't even fathom what is going to happen to me. I'm 24 years old. I'm scared to death. And the next morning, it seemed like a whole year went by. The doctor walked in. And I knew that the doctor didn't say this, but my perception again, he walked in, and prior to that, my wife had talked to him, and he said, "Does Josh want to hear this straight up, or do you want me to beat around the bush a little bit?" And I just said straight up. I just mumbled that. And the doctor walks in, and what I heard was, "Happy New Year. You have a life-threatening disease." And he walked out. And now, of course, that's not what he said, but that's what I heard. I heard a gavel going down on the desk saying, "You are guilty and sentenced to life with this disease." I was scared to death. And so my next point is have an optimistic outlook on life. And that's something that I wish I would have paid more attention to and realized more apparent in my life at that time. So what I did is I was able to realize a few things, and my wife said something to me very profound. She said, I cried for about 3 days after I was diagnosed with MS. And she said to me, she came in my room and she said, "Crying's not going to cure your disease. I'm sorry. But feeling sorry for yourself is not going to cure your disease." And she handed me this rock, this gratitude rock. And she said, "Have an attitude of gratitude." And she gave it to me. And it was very profound because I thought, wow, yeah, that's easy for her. She doesn't have a disease. But she made me realize that it's very important to have an optimistic attitude on life. It is a scientific fact that the person who sees the glass half full rather than half empty lives a better, fuller life. And the person that sees the good in people and the good in things has a better outlook on life. It's just proven. And so, like Rick said, I started a motivational speaking business because I thought to myself, if I can really grab this thing by the horns and fight it and beat it, then I can probably help a lot of other people. So like I was telling the other people that are here today, it's so rewarding to speak to elementary school kids, to speak to middle school kids, and to give them some hope about how they can overcome the trials in life that they face every day. I'm grateful for my trials. I'm grateful for my challenges. And that means that I'm grateful for my MS. I'm grateful for my career. I'm grateful for everything. It's great to have an attitude of gratitude. My life is so much fuller. I've had such an amazing experience with the attitude of gratitude, and my son, and my wife, and now my daughter, who's 2 months old. She's so cute. I wish I could just put pictures up here because she's smiling all the time. She's 2 months. It's crazy. But it's really a special experience to have. And now the third point I want to bring up, last point, is that Diana Bateman actually talks about this. She talks about taking a 5-minute break and the importance of that. I want to go a little bit further with that and talk about quiet time. Now, quiet time to me is meditation. It's getting away from the noise, getting away from the negativity, and just having a little bit of quiet time in your life. And it's very important to grateful I am for the technology that's come out in order for me to take the drug called Avonex. I only need to think about my MS once a week, and if I hit it in the right place, it doesn't hurt. But sometimes I hit the nerves and I'm just like, oh! You know, so it's kind of crazy. But it's okay, I pushed through it. And I think I heard someone back here talking about you get really cold and everything. I get that too. I get the chills sometimes when I hit the wrong place. But I just need to study my muscles in here a little bit more. So, but I am grateful for the Avonex that I take. I am optimistic and I believe that one day there will be a cure for MS. I believe that. And what I want to do is just quickly share with you my goals. I have very lofty goals. I mean, I just turned 27. I need to have lofty goals. Okay? So, my goals are my goals, I promise you. I don't want you to compare. I don't want you to think that you need to do this unless, you know, you want a competition or something. We can work that out later. But no, I'm just kidding. So, the goals that I have are I want to climb mountains. Last summer I climbed Mount Olympus. Does anybody know Mount Olympus? Yeah, it's 9,000 plus feet. And when I got to the top, I was like, yeah! And I just like yelled as loud as I could because it was so high, and I was able to climb that. I slipped a couple times, but I had a huge gash in my leg. But it was worth it. It was worth it to get to the top. It was a major accomplishment. I want to climb mountains. I want to keep off the 100 pounds that I've lost since I was diagnosed with MS. I was 320 pounds, like I said. Now I'm 220 pounds, except for I put on 30. Can you tell? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So anyway, it's something that I want to continue to do. One day, with my speaking business, I want to donate $1 million to charity. I want to help fund the cure for MS. I want to speak to every single high school, middle school, and elementary school in the country. And I want to coach them and teach them about hope and leadership and be the next generation to carry things on. It's very, very important to me that I will continue to work towards these goals. And I just thank you so much for listening to me, and have a good night.